Hey everyone, it is late at night and I'm Norman. I am finally making this video. So a while ago, I got the idea that maybe I ought to share some of the humorous, interesting stories that you guys have posted in the comments. So I collected a few of those, but kind of got stuck doing all kinds of other videos. But now, I'm going to tell some stories. So let us begin. Okay, so most of these are just short, entertaining little bits, just a couple sentences long, but be sure to stick around, because at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you a story that I have that happened quite a while ago now, but as you'll understand when I tell it, I needed to put some time between those events, and now, for my own safety, and out of regards for the other party involved. And after that one, I'm going to read you an amazingly heartwarming story that is so well told by one of the viewers out there. And of course, I have permission to do so. And in the show notes below, I will have a link to that so you can read it yourself, bookmark it, share it with others, whatever. So the inspiration for this video came from your responses to my reverse Ask Me Anything video, where you were telling tales and your experiences as a watch collector, tales from youth, all kinds of fun stuff. And the first one that I have is water resistance fails. The first watch I recall owning was a cheap hand-wound Dugena? It said it was waterproof on the dial. I tested that in a bucket with water. Yeah, I didn't own it very long. Which reminds me of a story that I have. A long time ago, I owned a Citizen watch. I don't really even recall what it looked like now. I'm guessing it might have been a quartz chronograph. But I purchased it at a jewelry store in the mall, and the battery had died. So I took it back to the same exact store, and they were telling me that they couldn't change the battery on it because of the water resistance that it had, and they couldn't guarantee that water resistance. And at that time, I was not a watch nerd at all. I just assumed that a water-resistant watch was water-resistant, and this was the place that I purchased it. Why can't they change the battery for me? So I insisted. And they changed my watch battery. So I was wearing that watch every day, and shortly after I had the battery changed, I visited my mom, who was living in Indiana at the time. And we were hanging out in the pool. And yeah, I didn't own that watch very long. The next tale I have is bonding via batteries. So in my reverse AMA video, I asked what watch you would gift to somebody who is not a watch collector. And one of your ideas was great. Quartz titanium, at least 10 atmospheres of water resistance. This is what I really gave to a friend, and now I have the great honor of renewing his battery every time it dies. And another story I have involves a field watch. Quite literally. A guy in the Erebus Facebook group recently shared a story about his 30-year-old Casio, which was lost for a year in a field due to a wrestling match with a calf. His dad found it, and he restored it, and it is now back on the wrist. That's pretty crazy. And it's so cool that that watch is still working. Wow. Okay, this story is absolutely hilarious. And I'm calling it Getting Classy at the Opera. In the early 1990s, when digitals were all the rage, I attended an opera series. The tickets were very expensive. Starting about 10 minutes to the hour, I would begin to hear double beeps coming from the audience, with a crescendo of beeps as the hour approached and trailing off for another 10 minutes. These people not only left the hourly alarms active in a concert hall, but couldn't even be bothered to set the time correctly. That is hilarious. Okay, now, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more videos like this, you should do all the YouTube things. You know, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications. I'm not saying that I obsessively watch my statistics at all day long, but it lets me know you like me. Okay, back to the stories. So I'm calling this next story, and it went terribly wrong. This is a story that happened to me quite a while ago now. And I'm not going to give away any identifying information. Longtime viewers may know who I'm talking about, but yeah. I encountered a guy who I thought was doing really cool work. He was kind of doing the things that I imagined doing with dress watches, only he was doing it with a different style of watch, and so I reached out to him, figuring maybe he would give me a slight discount if I shared his watches with you guys. And I ended up getting one of his pieces, other pieces as well, and we emailed nearly every day, like lengthy emails, all kinds of crazy stories about his family and his exploits and just all kinds of wild stuff. And one evening, one of my neighbors wanted to celebrate her birthday by renting a limo and taking a bunch of us in the neighborhood out to the big city for some steaks. And it was gonna be good times. So we're in the limo en route to the restaurant, and I decide to check my phone. And I noticed that I got an email, and it was this person demanding that I take down a video. So I kind of looked into why, and there was one comment that was kind of critical of one of his pieces. And so I told him I wasn't going to take down the video, that people have different opinions, it's all good, it's fine. Then I got another email demanding that I take down the video again. So for the first time ever, and I think the only time ever, I actually removed a comment. Because I didn't want to take down the video, I didn't want this guy freaking out, so I removed a comment. But I was still getting emails about taking down this video. So my entire limo ride was completely ruined by all of this, and near the end of the ride I ended up taking down the video as he wanted, and next thing I know, everything blows up. I'm getting threatening emails telling me that men in black suits are going to show up on my front door, accusing me of doxing this person, calling me all kinds of names, just absolutely bonkers, just losing his mind. And I tried to calm him down and be like, I've been supportive of you ever since I encountered you. I took down the video, I did all the things you want. It did not help. I kept getting emails. And then I started getting emails from a friend of his who, strangely enough, called me the exact same names that he did and made the exact same accusations. Weird. So, yeah, he wanted me to give all of his watches back, and I refused because we had transactions out there on the internet for every single one of them. So I actually still have them, but I never show them on my channel anymore because this guy is crazy. But I didn't want to tell this story, so I just kind of sat on it. And later on, his presence kind of vanished from where I had found him before. And still, I gave it another couple years or so, and now I'm telling the story. Just absolutely wild. Like, craziness. But enough of that, let's end this video on a heartwarming note. So one viewer out there wrote an article on their website, and again that's going to be linked below, called The Watch That Changed the World. And I'm just going to read this article in its entirety because it's so good, like I mentioned before. A watch changed my worldview. How does a day at the mall in 1986 affect diversity, acceptance, and counter-profiling? What happens when judgment and acceptance clash in the heart of a teenager? Can all this inspire a lifelong passion and inspire change? Love at first sight. In January of '86, I had $50 of Christmas money burning a hole in my pocket. My grandpa dropped me off at Fox Valley Mall in Aurora and gave me some change to call home on a payphone when I was ready to go home. I was 15 and untethered. I ate greasy food in the food court with an orange Julius to wash it down. Along the way, I bought some records at Sam Goody and got some sci-fi books at Walden Books to geek out on. Then I saw something beautiful. In the store window of K Jewelers was a gold-tone Seiko 6923-8080. Swatch watches and digital watches were all the rage, but the gold-tone three-hand watch with the day and date at the 3 o'clock took my breath away. It was so very gold, so very shiny. I had no idea a watch could be so breathtaking and amazing. I walked into the store and met Roxanne and Jeff. Roxanne's red light and Jeff's compassion. I entered the jewelry store and walked up to the woman with impeccably tall blonde hair, fashionably big shoulder pads, and gold and diamond earrings that would make Sybil Shepherd jealous. To me, she was refined and sophisticated. With excitement, I told her I saw the gold watch in the window and wanted to know more about it. With a stern expression and even sterner voice, she told me that she was very busy with paying customers and essentially shooed me off. Something inside me broke. I did not have many friends at that time and had recently moved in with my grandparents to escape an abusive situation in my former home. In that moment, I was reminded that I was a dork and a geek and a dweeb. I did not matter. I felt the tears well up in my eyes and the choke in my throat. I mumbled that I was sorry and started to walk away with my tail tucked between my legs. Then I heard another voice call to me. It was a store manager named Jeff. "Young man," a man's voice called from behind the counter. "Please don't leave. My name is Jeff. How can I help you today?" I turned and there was Jeff. He was a short, thin man with male pattern baldness, in a wash and wear black suit and a skinny black tie and a well-trimmed mustache. He smiled warmly. I walked toward him with salt water still stinging my eyes. He looked at the woman and gently said, "Roxanne, please wait in the back. We'll talk later." The woman, Roxanne, who shooed me off, went into the back room behind the counter. I told him with a shaky voice about the watch in the window. He reached behind the display window and brought out the watch. He told me I had good taste and explained the watch was quartz, made of stainless steel, had a mineral glass crystal, and was even water resistant. It had everything, and it was lovely. Then he told me the cost. I do not remember the exact number, but it was over $100. It was 1986 and I was 15. In today's money, the watch would be somewhere around $275 to over $300. I told him I could not afford anything like that. "Do you know what layaway is?" I told him I heard about it, but did not know how it worked. He told me that if I gave him 15% of the cost today, they would hold the watch in the back with my name on it, and I would have 90 days to pay off the balance. It seemed like a lot. Then he told me that to earn my business, he would be happy to extend the terms to 180 days, or more, if I needed the time. I still had about $20 left. I asked him if that would be enough. He said it was plenty and wrote up the paperwork. He gave me a pink copy of the form with a receipt and his business card on it. He thanked me for my business as he made a production of putting the watch in a box and taping a copy of the paperwork on it. I got it! Not yet, but someday it was mine. I was excited again. The continued visits. Over the following months, I would sometimes get a ride to the mall from my grandpa or my uncle anytime I had money to pay down the layaway. If Jeff was there, he always knew me by name, and he would let me visit the watch. At one point, he put it on my wrist and pinched the side. He explained to me he was estimating how many links he would have to remove so it would fit me when it was mine. In July, I turned 16. It was a great day. I got my driver's license and birthday money. A few days later, I drove to the mall all by myself. I went to Kay and Jeff was there. I told him I had the final payment. He took the dog-eared paperwork and stamped it paid. He told me he wanted to make sure the watch had a fresh battery and remove some links. He sat behind the small counter with my watch. When he was done, he put it on my wrist. It was still loose. He showed me the micro adjust by the clasp and how to move the pin to tighten or loosen it. He tightened it and it was a perfect fit. He showed me the links he removed in a small bag in the watch box and said as I grow I may need to have a link added, so be careful. I wore it out of the store. I was Don Johnson in Miami Vice. I was fancy. I had a real watch. Nothing like it had ever been on my wrist. I celebrated with an orange Julius, a pretzel, and a new record at Sam Goody. The watch almost never left my wrist for a decade. School, first car, first kiss, first job, many other important firsts happened with that watch on. I still have it and it still gets time on my wrist, as it keeps the time for me 38 years later. Last year I took it to a watchmaker who replaced the terribly scratched crystal. She went to great lengths to ensure it was an original Seiko crystal built for the SQ Seikos of the 80s. The gold tone is faded in many spaces, and I'm not sure how much life the bracelet has. But when it is on my wrist, the feeling of joy and accomplishment is still with me. It feels different than any other watch I own. How Jeff changed my world and the world around me. Every day I make a choice, everywhere I go, if I'm going to be a Jeff or a Roxanne. I do not want to throw her under the bus. With Jeff as her boss, I'm sure she learned and grew from the experience. But that fateful day and that moment, I knew what it felt to be profiled as less. And not knowing my life circumstances, she had no idea how her dismissal affected me, how it hurt. On the other side, Jeff likely does not know that almost 40 years later, his smile and kindness has impacted my life. I endeavor to profile no one and accord everyone I encounter respect and dignity. Regardless of it being a professional or personal setting, if there is something that they want or need and it is in my power to present a solution to that, I will work with them and encourage them as Jeff did to me. This has made me a better father, friend, and partner. Now there are some moments and some days that I am Roxanne. It is reality, but Jeff is the magnetic north to my moral compass, and when I wear the watch I am reminded of him, my ability to goal set and to not give up on myself and the things that I want in this life. Not every goal happens, and I cannot help everyone, but in 1986 I got a good model that changed my world. The world around me. There are people in my world who are profiled and live in the margins. Activism, volunteering, engaging with elected representatives and other things. I can, often with others, work with them and among them to showcase their dignity and create change. If I see someone hurting another person, I can pull them to the side as Jeff did with Roxanne and remind them that profiling others hurts us all. Maybe the commission for my watch may not have changed Roxanne's life, but she did leave money on the table. Jeff turned me into a repeat K customer throughout my life. If he had not been there, that would not have happened. When we profile, there's an impact on us as well. I am no hero, but I know I have inspired some people to look at life in this way, and they do like I do, in everyday little encounters. I wear a watch that changed the world a little, and it still keeps time as I live this life. In closing, it also helped begin a hobby that I enjoy to this day, watches and horology. There is a history, science, and philosophy of time, and an artistry to watches and clocks that gives me delight as I curate my collection and save up for the next acquisition. May we all be like Jeff and change the world in the little moments as well as big ones. May we all be aware of now and know that time is a limited and non-renewable resource in the human experience. That is an absolutely amazing story, and it is so well told. Thank you so much for sharing it and allowing me to share it with all of you. Thanks for watching.